Hey guys, Mike Toy Bonsai Boise. So this is a rosemary plant that I got at the store, and I'm going to turn it into a bonsai. I don't know a ton about rosemary, so just a little bit of experimenting going on here at the same time. But I see these for sale all the time, all over the place at this time of year, this time being December. So come with me, we're going to pull this thing out of the pot, chop it all up, get it out of the soil, get it into some new bonsai soil, and turn it into a bonsai. Let's go. All right, so here it is. So I got this at the store, and typically when I buy one of these at a store, or any tree at a store, I look at the trunk, because I want to pick an interesting one. In this particular case, the store was packed. There were people everywhere. There was a million of these trees. And as you can see from the dense foliage, it's not easy to see the trunk. So it was kind of a leap of faith, and I just grabbed one. So I don't yet know what the trunk is going to look like. That being said, after I dug into it, what you're about to see here is there's actually two trunks. There's two trees in there, which is not unusual for rosemary. So there you go. So you got two trees in there. So I'm going to turn this into two bonsais as I rip it apart. So the general overall plan is I want to get this old soil off for the most part. I don't want to bare root them entirely, but I want to get as much of that soil off as I can safely, about to this part here, this level, and put it in some bonsai soil. I want to try to keep the root pruning to a minimum. I've got two pots I'm working with. One is very small, and the other one is, decent size, about the size of a softball, volume-wise. So one's going to have to get more root pruning than the other. That's the small one. You can already see it's not going to fit super well like that. I'm going to have to trim some of the roots off. So we're going to start with this. The overall goal in trimming it, or the pattern that I'm going to follow here, is kind of the typical thing where you don't want three branches growing from one spot. You want one branch to go and split into two, and then two split into four, etc. You don't want one going up and splitting into three, because that's how you get reverse taper and you get big bulges and branches and it looks goofy and weird. So that's the high level plan that I'm going to follow here. Now, since rosemary is new to me and these trees themselves are new to me, I haven't had time to really get to know them the way you do a tree that you've had for years, and you kind of know what you're going to do. You form a plan slowly over time. In this particular case, I don't have that. So I'm going to take what I call the nibbling approach, which is where I just nibble away at it, little by little. Very few big drastic cuts. More like lots of little cuts. So I'm going to cut a little, evaluate it, put it next to the pot, see how it's looking. Nibble a little more, evaluate. See, right there is a spot where I had three branches, for example. Nibble a little more, put it back against the pot, see how it looks. And I'm just going to follow that pattern over and over and over. As you can see, I'm just sort of nibbling away at it, trying to figure out, all right, how do I even want this to look? Because of the dense foliage, that adds another layer of challenge, I guess I would say. Because you can't really see in there to get a good idea of the branch structure. I mean, you can move stuff around, but it's confusing when there's 1,000 little leaves kind of coming and going. So hence my nibbling approach. As long as I follow that main formula of one branch into two, two into four, I should be left with something halfway decent. And I don't follow that rule to the T, because there's a couple areas where there are three branches instead of two. But I only do that, A, when it's necessary for the look of the tree, so it doesn't look imbalanced, and B, temporarily. once I get this cut down and put into a bonsai pot and I have it up on the windowsill for a while, I'll have time to look at it and kind of get to know it a little better and start to form a better longer term plan. It's real hard to come up with a long term plan right off the bat with a tree that you just got. It's like asking a kindergartner what they want to be when they grow up. They're going to tell you one thing, but that's not what they're going to do. Same with this. I could say, here's my long-term plan, but that's going to change. I don't know what's going to happen next month or next year. So back to the nibbling approach. I'm just nibbling away at it. Starting to take some shape now. I'm starting to get it down to the size that I want it to be for that pot. The good news is that it has a lot of branches. And of course, I'm going to try taking some cuttings, which I am told rosemary can root from cuttings fairly easily. So little that I did find out about rosemary just from reading about them online. They're a Mediterranean species, part of the sage family. They do root from cuttings. They're hard to grow from seeds, from what I understand. They don't like frost. There are some subspecies that apparently can tolerate frost. I have no idea which kind this is. I think on the tag when I got it at the store, it just said tree or Christmas tree or something like that. So I don't know what subspecies this is. I'm going to keep it indoors. They apparently like it a little on the drier side, or at the very least, they do not at all like being waterlogged. So the other tree that I'm going to get to here in a minute, that one is a big experiment, and you'll see why, but I won't jump the gun. First, let's get this one potted up. So I'm trying to get it in place. I'm trying to work the soil into the roots to kind of hold it in place. It's not wanting to stay because those roots are kind of, I don't want to say stringy, they're more like sticky. Not sticky, that's the wrong word. They're like sticks. They're not pliable. So let me go water this to help hold it in place and get it cleaned up. There it is. I'm mostly happy with it. I see a couple little spots that I just want to touch up. Some of those little pieces of foliage on the left side are going straight down. I don't much love that. A couple little pokey horns at the top there, so I'm just gonna do a little quick cleanup on those. It's a little better. Much better. Want it a little more rounded. There we go. Much, much better. So there we go. That's one of two. Fairly happy with it. Got some decorative rocks in there to help hold it in place since I do not wire my trees into the pot more often than not. Now here's the second one. So this pot is interesting. A friend of mine at work made this for me on his 3D printer. It's a different type of design. So it doesn't have drainage holes at the very bottom. So what I did is I put some pea gravel, about an inch worth of pea gravel in there. The drainage holes are off to the side. So you can see there's none at the bottom. They're off to the side there. And there's kind of a little drainage tank off to the side. So I have never attempted a tree in one of these designs before. So this will be a first for me. But I guess I don't know. I could see where maybe it would work and where it won't. My biggest concern is just the trees getting root rot, getting waterlogged and root rot. Which is dawning on me now, the rosemary being particularly susceptible to root rot. Maybe this wasn't the right species for the pot, but too late now. It's okay. So after poking around at it, I realized I should just do the civilized thing and rip this thing apart with my bare hands, just like that. I dug away at it for a while and couldn't get it loose, so I just figured if I'm gonna have to cut it, I may as well rip it, and then at least there's a chance. And it turns out that was right. It worked. See, it's got roots. Look at that. So those are kind of like cuttings, but cuttings with roots already. So once I get all of those bottom ones out of the way, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the first one, where same rules apply, same strategy applies. Just go through it, make sure there's not 3 branches coming out of any one spot. Also, I want to, if there's any long, leggy type branches, I want to take those back just so that we can get some movement in the branches so that they're not long and straight. You see right there where there's some little spots growing right at the, I'm going to call it the armpit of the branch of the trunk. So I'm going to look for spots like that, get that cleaned up, because that's how the 3 branches in one spot thing starts. So I won't bore you with the entire process, since it's really just the same method over and over and over, looking for spots where there are 3 branches coming out of one spot. And I noticed on these rosemaries that they do it a lot, because a branch will just grow outward and then 2 branches will grow out. That's one node. And then the branch will keep going in the middle, and then 2 more branches will grow out. So what that means is 3 branches in one spot over and over. So I just look for those areas. And typically I would lose the middle branch so that the 2 branches coming out will have better movement. So once I got that to a place that I was content with, it's time to pot it up. So funny story on this part, because of the angle in which I am sitting at this time and the angle in which the camera is, I can't really tell just how off center the tree is, because I'm sitting at it from the other angle. And from where I sat, I could tell it was off center a little bit, which I wanted. I wanted it to be off center because I'm going to put some little decorative rocks in there. But I didn't tell just how much it was. So you'll see here in a second, when I spin it around, I kind of realize it and I go, oh man, I start wiggling it, trying to get it centered again, but it was already too late. One of the sacrifices you make when you make videos, you look at it. See, that's when I realized it right there. I'm like, oh man, that's way off. So I tried to get it moved, but nah, it's pretty much just in there. I didn't feel like yanking it out and redoing it, so I just went with it. This one had kind of a bigger root ball, lots of air pockets, so I spent a decent amount of time working the soil into those roots. Did it off camera, but this is how they look afterward. Some cuttings there, and I have a few more cuttings in the bucket next to me that I'm gonna still pot up, but this is the end product for those 2. It's all from a $10 rosemary plant at the store where there was 1,000 of them. So I would venture to say that if I can do this, anybody out there can do it for $10 and a couple of pots. So we'll see how they go. They smell very good, I can tell you that, and your hands will smell like rosemary a lot. So be ready for that. But they're very good smelling plants. They're pretty, they're evergreen, so they don't lose their leaves at all. I'll give you an update after a little while and let you know how they're doing. We'll see. Each one has its own set of challenges. This one with the water logging, and this one with being in a small pot. Different set of challenges for each. But please be sure to like and subscribe, and you can see updates on this and others. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.